Hey, this is Endrick. I'm doing my second audio commentary today. The first one was pretty well received, so I'm going to go ahead and do a second one today. This time the matchup is going to be Terran versus Zerg due to requests that I got. If you're watching this, I strongly suggest that you view it in 1080p resolution and that you watch it in full screen mode so that you catch the little details that you would otherwise miss. For those who didn't see my first audio commentary, I play in Platinum League Division 1 primarily as Terran. You can see right here that my SCV that's building my barracks is getting attacked by a drone, and this is something that I have to respond to. Even though he hides in the barracks part of the time, I don't want to take the chance of him dying, because if I have to replace that SCV with another one and I delay that barracks for a little bit, for even a short period of time, it messes up my timing. So the drone's running around my base scouting me. He sees that I have one gas and one barracks so far. I just sent my SCV into the Zerg player's base, and I saw that he got a late spawn pool and that he had no gas. So that tells me that he's going to expand. So what I do is I run my SCV over here and I block his expansion node so that, you know, if when he goes to try to build that, my SCV will at least block him for a little bit. The fact that he got a late spawn means that he won't have any Zerglings to come kill my SCV. And 1v1, an SCV will beat a drone as long as you're paying attention or you set your SCV on patrol. If he just sits there with the stop command or the hold command, then the drone can attack him and get a head start on him and kill him by the time he reacts. So you either need to be paying attention or leave that SCV on patrol. If I had seen the Zerg player fast expand right around this time, then what I would have done to counter that is to do a triple Rax rush with stem and attack right after I got stem. Regardless of that scenario, what actually ended up happening in this game, strangely, was that the Zerg player built a second hatchery at the front part of his base to help him D up, to help block this ramp. Apparently, I'm guessing that he's been rushed by Terran in the past when he tried to fast expand on this map, maybe because it's so small. I'm not sure why he did that instead of trying to build it on his natural expo, other than to play more defensive. Because he didn't even, if you notice, he didn't even go down there and scout the expo and see my SCV blocking it. He just straight up built a hatchery right here. So at this point, after my SCV died, I'm wondering what he's doing, because I saw a late spawn and I saw no gas before when I was scouting. So he's not following really a normal build for Zerg by building that second hatchery there, which I haven't, at this point, I haven't seen yet. So I'm sending back another SCV to scout again. I want to see the expo again, because I'm thinking, what's going on? Why hasn't he expoed? I saw his build. He still hasn't expoed. So I know that if I run into his base with that SCV at this point, he's going to have units and he's just going to kill it. So I figure I won't even make it to the back of his base. That's why I'm just kind of patrolling back and forth. I still at least want to use that SCV to find out what his timing is on his expo. At this point, I know he's doing something. He's going some sort of single base strategy, so the most important thing for me to scout at this point is what his timing is on his expo. If you saw my last audio commentary, that matchup was Terran versus Protoss, which is mostly a war of unit choices and micro. So what units are you going to make, and how well are you going to use them in battle once you have them? Are you going to get the proper positioning in key battles, or is your opponent going to outmaneuver you? In the Terran versus Zerg matchup, this is mostly actually a timing battle. The most important part of a high-level game between these two races is going to be the timing. And in this matchup, the way it works is the Terran player keys off of the Zerg player's timing, at least if he wants to win anyway. The Zerg is going to out-macro the Terran if he starts expanding all over the map, so it's never a good idea for Terran to expo against Zerg, because by the time your second expo is up and running and you're like thinking about moving to a third expo, if you're going to try to just out-macro the Zerg, he's already going to have at least 3 bases, and you're just going to lose that that macro war. So you have to key, as Terran, you have to key off of the Zerg player's timing, and the Zerg can kind of pick the pace, choose the pace of the game. Now, if you notice, I just scouted that Expo with my SCV, and I saw that he had some roaches sitting there on the ramp, and that's still all I know. I generally choose to try to do as much scouting as I can with an SCV because it's only 50 minerals, whereas if I use a scan rather than an SCV to scout what's going on in the Zerg player's base, it sets me behind 300 minerals. And with the fact that I played more of a timing game against the Zerg, I really don't want to waste those 300-ish minerals by not getting one of these mules and using that for a scan instead. In certain cases, I'll use a scan, obviously, but in a lot of cases, I kind of have the feeling for Terran versus Zerg now. I do pretty well in the matchup, and I generally can get away with only scouting with SCVs in this matchup for the most part. So, again, back to the timing deal here, since that's the most important part of this matchup. I've already decided my timing against this play. Now, if he had gone a really fast Expo, I would have done different timing, but in this particular case, I saw that he was playing single base and that he went ahead and expanded late. So what I'm doing is I'm teching to Medivacs, and possibly, well, I was a little bit slow about it in this game, but ordinarily I would try to also get the combat shield upgrades on my Marines before I tacked if I was doing kind of a later game strategy like this. So I'm pretty close to ready to attack here. I built a starport with a reactor so that I could pump Medivacs out quickly. That's probably the only thing I'm going to use the starport for in this game, so there's no reason for me to build a tech lab on it. I go with the reactor instead and pump those Medivacs out quickly. Based on the timing of his Expo, I know that I have some time to hit. Oh, I just got nailed by a couple of banelings right there and wandered into them. I did a bit of I did a scan there, but it was out in front. I didn't realize that there was more banelings to my side, so he kind of got the better of me in that little minor engagement. So I'm going to send out a couple Marines now. I'm going to check first to the side. The reason I'm doing this, here's his ramp, but I'm checking to the side to make sure that he's not going to ambush me from the side. Zerg love to do that, and if they ambush you from the sides, then that's a bad thing, since you don't want to be surrounded. You don't want your infantry to be surrounded. Here's another explosion, a very well placed ambush by the Zerg player, and now he's chasing me with a bunch more banelings. I'm having to back up. What I did there was I grabbed most of my units, all of them except for my front line, and pulled them